Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to yet another episode of Living in Harmony. Today, alhamdulillah, we're taking the next step for those of you that have been following our journey over the last 3 episodes that we've gone through. Today, inshallah, we want to bring to your awareness and an opportunity for you to explore further, to open up your mind and look at something that hasn't been openly spoken about, especially within our Muslim communities, but something that really needs to be understood, taken into consideration. And a lot of the time, we need to understand that there are a lot of things that simply because we cannot see them or feel them, right, that they don't exist. That sort of a belief really is, that for the ignoramus. And so just like oxygen and, where's the proof for air? Where's the proof for carbon monoxide, or there's too much carbon dioxide in the air, whatever it may be, we really need to connect and understand that, that there is a world beyond what we can see. And the world also exists within our bodies, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, that we will show you the signs in the horizons and within yourself. And whatever exists within ourselves exists in our horizons. And whatever is in the horizons also then is reflected within our bodies. So inshallah, today we want to talk about the energy ley lines of the world. And alhamdulillah, the earth, just like how there's oceans and rivers across it, there is also energetic lines that run through the earth. And we know this, everywhere that we travel to, places that we go to, certain places have a very high positive energy, and certain places will have a very low negative energy. Certain places you go into, you'll feel very cold, you'll feel like your energy is being sucked out of you. And again, it's rightful to say that, there might be, an inhabitation of jinns or something like that. But whereas, you go to other places such as the Haramain, and even maybe local masajid within your city, and you will find that, alhamdulillah, the energy is really uplifting. And a lot of the times you will find that these places that have good energy are usually marked out, okay? And there might be certain memorials built around them. They might be locked off. They might be put away. Certain, places like even in the Qaraween, that there are places, mashallah, where the pious predecessors used to sit and they used to do their khalwa there. And like Imam al-Jazuli, rahimullah, who spent 14 years in khalwa. And all of these places that you see in whether they're in masajid, whether in zawiyas, whether they're in caves, they'll always hold a very high and uplifting energy. So today, inshallah, with Brother Sikandar, one of our Afia practitioners, we want to open up this discussion, and I'm going to hand over to him now, really, to present a presentation that we've worked on to bring to your attention the existence of energy lines that run through the earth. And for now, inshallah, it will just be an introduction. But inshallah, in the upcoming episodes, we want to look at how we can actually start to take benefit from or protect ourselves from anything that may be positive or negative. So inshallah, over to you. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Sikandar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Oh, thank you for this opportunity. So yeah, we're looking at acupoints, energy points, and meridians, which are all kind of interconnected when it comes to this type of a topic.
So far people are getting to that point where we're understanding that yes, there is energy flow in the body, that there are acupressure points, that there are like trigger points in the body that can be manipulated to affect the flow of energy, and then as a result affecting your health. But then also we notice that that everything that happens to us is also happening within the earth. And so inshallah, I'll put the presentation up, inshallah, so that we can go through it. And inshallah, I'll leave it to you, inshallah, to share your wisdom on it, inshallah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, what you touched upon there, energy points, meridians, and acupoints. So meridians are what we have in our body, and what the Chinese refer to them as meridians, or the Indians refer to them as chakras. There's the other word is lata'if, often used within Islamic circles. And And then acupoints. Acupoints are pressure points on the body. That's why if you receive a massage from somebody, um, it's very healing. It's a point of release for the body. It's not just a physical detox, but it's also an emotional detox as well. When those right pressure points, pressure is applied to those right points at the body. So those are the things we have within our body, but it doesn't just limit itself to our body. Like you said earlier, the verse of the Quran that we have signs of you, we have signs of ourselves within you and outside. So if we go on to the next slide. So to reiterate that point, there you have on the right there the meridian acupuncture points that the Chinese recognize for acupuncture. Also, hijama practitioners would be familiar with these, and they would be familiar with the practice of placing the cups on certain positions, certain places upon the body for maximum impact in terms of health and the alike. And then going onto the earth, you see rivers which are interconnected with tributaries and streams. It's all one. It's a network, much like the meridian energy point network in our body, just like the blood system within our body, where we've got arteries, veins, capillaries, kind of reflects what we see in the natural world of rivers. And then also in the plant kingdom, if you look at a tree, it's got its roots, it's got its trunk, it's then got branches, and then from that it branches out into smaller ones and then into the flower. Again, the same type of a principle and same type of a divine design that you see within nature, ourselves, and the alike. And you don't have to stop there. You can look at the body, animals, look at the skeletal system, right? We have our spine, which holds us together, and then we have joints and other bones that go off there, and then the smaller carpal and the bones in the fingers and the feet. And again, finally, if you look up into the skies, you'll see the celestial realm, where we've got the stars and planets and moons, and there's alignments there, which we then call the constellation. So all of this is there as signs for us to reflect upon. Okay, what's the next slide, please? And with the earth as well. So just like the body has got its energy points or chakras, meridians, what you want to call them, so has the earth. And here specifically for this presentation, we're kind of focusing on our locality, which is Britain. So on the left there, you've got an alignment of energy points upon the earth on the Isle of Britain, which was formerly known as Albion. Albion is the old name of England, going from north-south, south-north. And these are actually, it's not one line. What you've got is a crisscross of two energy lines, a bit like the DNA helix. And where those lines cross, that is what's called a node. And we've also got another major energy line going through Britain from Cornwall all the way up to Norfolk. So these are two major lines going through energy lines, or dragon lines is another word that's used for them. There's various symbolism that is used to reflect these lines or to symbolize their presence in cultures. So the Chinese often use the dragon to symbolize earth energies and harmony and that kind of a thing. In Britain, we have that as well. You'll see the dragon on the Welsh flag, for example. George and the dragon, that kind of a thing. It's often symbolism, symbolizing earth energies and the harnessing of those energies for whatever intention one has. If you go on to the next slide. So how do we detect these earth energy lines? How do we find them? Well, that's done using the art of dowsing. So here you got somebody holding two types of dowsing rods. So essentially these are copper rods or any metal really, which is then used to detect earth energies. Most people will be familiar with this with dowsing for water. And that is one of the uses of dowsing. In 2017, there was an article in most of the newspapers here in the UK where I think it was 12 out of the 15 water companies said they use dowsers to help them find broken pipes or where there's leakages and stuff. You'll also find mineral companies using dowsers. People who want to have water or a borehole dug, they'll employ a dowser as well. So engineering companies, water companies, they use dowsers. But dowsing is also used to detect Earth energy fields. These meridian Earth energy points. And the tradition of dowsing goes back a long way. You can see in the hieroglyphics in Egypt depictions of dowsers, people walking around with dowsing rods. So it goes back a long time. And the idea of using water, using a stick. I mean, traditionally they would use they would make the dowsing rod out of sticks, and the sticks would be from trees that have a high affinity with water. All trees do, but some have more than others. So they would use willow, for example, or the yew tree. So that wooden stick would be used to find water, and that's quite an interesting thing in and of itself. Brother Zuhair, got anything to add to what we've mentioned so far?
No, alhamdulillah, you carry on, inshallah, then we'll sum it up at the end.
So what do we find upon these Earth energy lines? Particularly where these lines meet, like I said, there are two lines, and at some point they'll cross. What type of places or people or structures do we find? Well, the first one that we find that goes back ancient history is stone circles. And there you've got Stonehenge on the right, which dates back to 5000 BC, built at the same time as the pyramids. And there on the left, you've got another stone circle. I believe that's a Roll-Right stone circle in Oxfordshire. So these stone circles were built upon Earth energy lines. I think Stonehenge has been dowsed. There's probably about 40 odd energy lines going through there, and then there would be a point where they're all coming in a circle, and then they meet. So those who went before us, they built their sacred places of worship, their places of healing upon these Earth energy lines, or places of the Earth where there's a high concentration of Earth energy lines, or where these Earth energy lines meet, making it an even more strong place of healing and benefit. Okay, what we got next? So aside from stone circles, you later saw cathedrals, churches, and mosques built also upon these Earth energy lines. And often what happened was those who came before in the past, the Druids or the ancient people of the land who built stone circles and these ancient monuments, those very sites were then used to build upon them churches, cathedrals, and then later mosques. So our ancestors knew that there's something special about this site, and we're going to keep this site for this in order to build our church or our cathedral, rather than find a totally different site to that of a ancient monument like a stone circle or a fort or something like this. Now there were practical reasons for that as well. The stone was there available, and the material was there available, no doubt. However, this is also another reason we find that these places were built upon these Earth energy lines. So we've got a couple of examples there. We just go back to that one. So you got the Blue Mosque there in Istanbul, which is right opposite the Hagia Sophia. The Hagia Sophia was a Byzantine cathedral, and then later it became a masjid. And both of them sit on strong Earth energy lines, which meet. There's a node where these Earth energy lines meet at that place in Istanbul. Top right there, you've got a cathedral. And then beneath it, you've got another cathedral. The one at the bottom there, that's St. Philip's Cathedral in Birmingham. And that sits on the highest point in Birmingham city centre. Birmingham city centre sits on a hill. And on top of this hill, you've got this cathedral, which was built upon an ancient site, which was an old Saxon place of worship. And even before that, there's foundations there that were discovered prior to that. So it's an old venerated site. What else do we find on Earth? Energy lines and nodes. Next slide. We find people. Well, what I mean by people here is on the left there, you've got Matthew Bolton. Matthew Bolton from the 19th century, Birmingham. He was the first person to invent the idea of a factory. So he built a factory in Birmingham, and that was the first factory in the world. He's a pioneer of the Industrial Revolution, one of the chief people behind the city of Birmingham and its history, and a pioneer really of the Industrial Revolution. Now, the place in Birmingham where he was born, in the city centre, the Earth energy alignment runs through there. The cathedral, the church that he worshipped, you previously saw the picture of that, also sits on this Earth energy line. Then his very house, Soho House, which today sits in Handsworth in Birmingham, the energy line runs through there as well. Also the place where he's buried. Okay. In the middle there, you got William Shakespeare from Stratford-upon-Avon. William Shakespeare, once again, where he studied. There was an abbey down in southern England where he studied. The earlier alignment that we spoke about that runs from north-south goes through there. Where he was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, the alignment goes through there, the Earth energy alignment. Where he's buried goes through there. The church that he worshipped in, Trinity Church in Stratford-upon-Avon, the alignment goes through there. And then to the right there, you got somebody you're probably more familiar with is Tolkien, the author of The Lord of the Rings. He also lived in Birmingham. He grew up, he moved to Birmingham as a young child, and he grew up, he spent his teenage years and studying in Birmingham. Again, where he studied, King Edward's School. King Edward's School, the old school, originally sat on New Street in Birmingham. The energy line goes through there, right? The places that inspired him, where he grew up in, Earth energy line goes through there. This is not by coincidence. Could it have been that these people knew about the benefit of how space, place, and Earth can affect our creativity, affect our mood, make us more harmonious with ourselves, and therefore we are able to be the best versions of ourselves that we can in this world in terms of what we produce and how we are. And what else do we have? So here I've got a map of Birmingham city centre, and on the bottom right there you can see a line running through that goes into the centre and then out, goes to the left and then up towards the top. And there's a little faint light line along the bottom, in the middle center, you can see that's also running through. So there you've got an alignment of two energy lines running parallel to one another, and then they meet. And where they meet is inside the Cathedral of Birmingham, of St. Peter's Cathedral in Birmingham, at the altar. The altar is the spot upon which the priest stands and delivers his sermon, and that is where this Earth energy line meets. So I'm just going to talk you through some of the significant points that these Earth energy lines go through. So I'm going to refer to them as a male and a female line, and I'll explain a little bit about that later. So we've got, let's say, the female line, the bottom right, and it runs, first place it runs through is St. Martin's Church. St. Martin's Church was an old ancient site before it was a church, and it was known as a place of healing. And there's a spring, there's a natural spring there on that site. Then when Christianity came here, a church was built there, St. Martin's Church. And this church to today is known as the Church of Healing. And they have one of the windows there is known as the window of healing. Upon it are depictions of various saints and prophets who are all known for healing and their healing miracles. Then this female line continues up towards the Birmingham City Centre Cathedral, where it meets the male line, creating that crossover. And then it goes into Victoria Square, named after Queen Victoria. And this square was opened by Lady Diana, Princess Diana, in 1992. And there's a big female fountain there, and there's water there. So two female figures there of Victoria and Diana, and there's water there. Water is a prominent thing with this female energy line. And then it continues north into St. Paul's Church, which is in the jewelry quarter of Birmingham city centre. Now, the jewelry quarter of Birmingham city centre is known for buying and selling of gold and jewelry. Birmingham was famous for its jewelry, and even today it is as well. The creative jewelry, intrinsic stuff, handcrafted necklaces and stuff of that I like. So just notice, bear that in mind, that this female line is associated with water, it's associated with healing, it's associated with creativity. Okay, and then we've got the male line, that faint line running through the center at the bottom and goes all the way into the cathedral. So one of the places that runs through is near the Odeon Cinema. It runs right through the Odeon Cinema in Birmingham. So the Odeon Cinema in Birmingham on New Street, that used to be the Chapel of the Guild. Now, the Guild were donors, rich people who would donate money to the crafts, to craftsmen, right? And artists and masons in particular. And their chapel, where they used to worship, is on New Street, where this male energy runs through. So these were masons, builders, right? And also people who were really about power, because their building and the arts and crafts was about representing their power, right? Letting the population know that Britain has expanded and here's a representation of that. And you see that further as this male line then goes towards the cathedral. When it goes towards the cathedral, it passes through an obelisk within the grounds of the cathedral. Now, an obelisk is a big, tall, cube-shaped structure, maybe 20 feet tall. You'll see this, and it has a little pyramid at the top. And that obelisk in Birmingham city centre is there to commemorate the war against the Sudanese, the Mahdi army in the 1800s. I believe it was around about the 1800s. Again, it's a masculine energy line to represent that, the war, right? Conquering power. And then it goes into Birmingham city centre, into the cathedral in Birmingham, where it unites with the female line, creating that node on the altar of the church. And then it goes north towards St. Chad's Cathedral. So this is another cathedral in Birmingham city centre, and this cathedral holds the relics of a saint from the 6th or 7th century. I think he was 6th century, St. Chad. So it's a very masculine line, and passing through this church of a male saintly figure who was prominent in spreading Christianity in the British Isles in the early part of the Christian period. So that's a little bit of how alignments and energies are placed or not placed, or how monuments, people, and events are represented using these energy lines. And next we've got, so I mentioned male and female. So what do we mean by this? Well, we don't literally mean a male here in the biological sense. What we're talking about here is, in the Islamic world, what we would call jalal, those qualities of what's the word? Majesty, those majestic qualities. Okay, jalal. So education, the Chapel of the Guilds, war memorials. You got to set that. You want the one with the green dome there. That's a war memorial in Birmingham. Then next to it, you've got the obelisk, the one that I mentioned, to commemorate the war against the Mahdi army of Sudan. That's in Birmingham city centre. And then next to that there, you've got I think that is Aston Hall. Zuhair, or is that Eton Hall, Ettington Hall?
Yeah, it's not Aston Hall, so it
It's
must
not
be
Aston,
another
so
one.
I'm pretty sure that's Ettington Hall. So Ettington Hall is the family home of the Shirley family. So the Shirley family, there's an area in Birmingham called Shirley, and they had an estate. And today, I think it's a hotel today, the Ettington Hotel in Warwickshire. Um, and again, the male current runs through their family, and you think, well, it runs through their family home, and that family is famed for war, right? Their ancestors fought in the Crusades, and then later they also fought in the wars in India, um, and up to recent times as well. The major generals and a military family, really, the Shirley family. So the male, that Jalal, that majestic energy, is present in these places, enhanced by that earth energy and these earth energy points. And then we've also got the female current. And the female current, this is more about what we would say in Arabic, Jamal, the beauty, right? So you got that balance of the male and the female, the majestic and beauty, the Jalal and Jamal, right? So what does that represent? Well, at the bottom left there, you can see Birmingham City Centre, Victoria Square, opened by Princess Diana. A water fountain there. Water is known for healing. And next to it, in the middle, you've got St. Martin's Church in Birmingham City Centre, which is till today known as the Church of Healing. So this female quality is one of nurturing, one of healing. And interestingly as well, like that church, particularly the cathedral and this church, you'll get a lot of homeless people sleeping outside this church. Now, that nurturing female loving quality of that environment that's created there attracts them. It gives them that little bit of schoon and tranquility and that kind of a thing. So, and next to that, at the bottom right, you've got the house of Matthew Bolton, Soho House, and the female energy line. It runs right through his bedroom. Right beneath his bedroom where he used to sleep. Some speculate that maybe he knew about the creative energy, though the creative impulse that this energy creates within us, that he would sleep over it, right? I mean, we commonly have this idea that you got a problem, don't worry about it, just sleep over it, and it'll be clear in the morning. Well, how about if that environment around us was conducive in order for us to heal ourselves, which sleep does, but also inspire us as well with those thoughts. So some say, the idea, those creative ideas that Matthew Bolton and the Illuminati Society got was to do with how they lived and where they lived and how they harnessed this type of a thing. At the top there, you've got what is today Green Lane Masjid in Birmingham in Small Heath. But this building, built in the late 1800s, was originally the baths of it was a public bath. And there you had hydrotherapy there, you had steam rooms there, you had saunas there, you had bathing areas there. And beneath the building, it had its own spring water. And that spring water was used for all its activities. It was also a library as well. And again, the female energy line runs through there. So you see that those creative qualities of a place of learning, a library, right? Water as a place of healing, and even today, a mosque, right? A place of worship, which is very befitting to this Jamali beauty energy that is harnessed by this female line. So that's a little bit about earth energy lines, what they are, how they're used, and how they affect our environment in and around the places that we live in. Over to you, Brother Zuhair. Oh, and finally, one more thing. Now, some might say, well, this is just all a bit of coincidence. Is there really any evidence? Well, here we have King Charles III, I believe. King Charles on his coronation. And there at the top, you see his coronation throne that he sat on at Westminster Abbey. And there is a stone That stone that he sat on is known as the Stone of Scone. Scone is a place in Scotland. Um, and Scone is where the alignment of a male and female energy cross over in Scone. So there's a node there, what we refer to as a node, along that north-south energy line that I showed at the beginning. And what's the significance of this place? Well, Scone, every Scottish king, before the English conquered Scotland, would be crowned in Scone. And they would sit upon that stone, or some say that's not the original, but they would sit on that stone and be crowned the King of Scotland at that very spot in Scone where that male and female line cross over. Now, in 1215, when King Edward defeated the William Wallace and the Scottish, and after that, Scotland was under the English. What King Edward did was he took the stone, he took the stone back to England, and kept it in England. And thereafter, every English king was crowned seated on that stone. Up until in the 1990s, the Scottish government wanted that stone back. You know, they wanted the stone back, and it was given back by John Major at the time, and he was taken to Edinburgh. They kept at the castle there, or the museum. However, for King Charles's coronation, that stone was brought all the way back from Scotland, Edinburgh, to Westminster, so King Charles could sit on it and be coronated. Right? What is it about that stone that's so special? Or that place that the king wished to sit on it for his coronation, right? So a little bit of history there, and something in our contemporary world who's using earth energies.
MashaAllah. Yeah, fascinating. It's just absolutely fascinating of what is possible if we just try to understand. It's nice to ignore most of these facts that have been shared. But like you were saying, that, you know, a lot of these places, including grammar schools and a lot of the, you know, the higher level education like Eton and all the rest of it, private schools, all of them are situated on these energy lines. The energy lines gave an upliftment, gave them a push in creativity. And even like here in Birmingham, where we live, you see that the football stadiums, Aston Villa and Birmingham City, okay, the line runs through them, you know, and this was a way of controlling the masses, of getting everyone to entrain and synchronize into the same thought pattern. And this is why it's so important that when you use the flow of energy, whatever is happening along that line, the message that you are trying to transmit gets absorbed into the people far quicker. And so this is why it was so important to bring people together and then to be on a place where the lines actually ran on, for them then to be indoctrinated with a thought or whatever else, you know, the ideology that was being pushed. And the same thing in the Colosseum. Okay, the Colosseum was used in the same way to indoctrinate ideas, to entertain people, to keep people distracted from asking deeper questions, right? But even the Colosseum sits on very, very strong energy lines and energy nodes, like you said with Hagia Sophia. And you also mentioned, you know, the the public baths, okay, which is now Green Lane Mosque, and all the public baths came from natural springs. They found a natural spring, and the natural spring naturally springs from a place where the energy line is flowing, right? So the energy is already enhanced. And so they just dug a well, brought the water up, and then used it, like you said, for hydrotherapy and whatever else. They used to immerse people in Buxton. Was it Buxton that we went to and we saw where they had like a pool made and a chair on a string, like you're pulling water out of a well. And they used to lower people into that water, and they used to sit in that water. And Alhamdulillah, like you see, you know, with Zamzam, the shifa is from Allah, and Allah puts shifa into any of these places, right? That he pleases. But every land and every sort of, you know, geographical location has its own healing properties and benefits. So amongst that as well, football stadiums, grammar schools, public baths, there is just so much. And the other thing that, you know, I wanted to mention about the spine of Albion that you showed, which runs from north to south, is all the major industrial cities of the United Kingdom are built on that line. Glasgow, Manchester, Birmingham. Okay, those are just absolutely massive. And we need to open our minds to think, hello, what exactly happened for them to know that this is where the energy comes from? Anything that we make on this line, what is the impact of it going to be as we supply it within the country and around the world? And subhanAllah, it became a superpower. It became, all over the globe. This is where the colonial power came from as well. Okay, to say that, we have this influence, we are setting an intention on these lines. And from that, so much has happened. And this is something that we need to sort of really start to break down and understand that how can I benefit myself today? And just like you said, and like the energy lines are flowing, they can be positive, some can be negative, but generally it's a river. Okay, just that it's an energetic river. It's just naturally flowing. The influence that someone has over that river will determine whether it becomes purified or it becomes putrid. Okay, and so in the same way, when certain acts of worship or certain rituals or whatever's being done upon those lines can affect the energy around it. But at the same time, alhamdulillah, we have within our deen, the Quran and the kalimat, to change that energy again. Whenever there's a negativity, we say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Whenever we feel that there is a darkness, we read our ayatul kursi and we read our quls. All of this changes that energy. And really, the true benefit really comes from is how do we absorb what is good? And how do we even then change what is bad? And that's something, inshallah, I'd like to explore more in our upcoming sessions as we continue to share ways by which we live in harmony with the environment that Allah has placed us in.
Yeah, mashallah, I think that's been well summarized there, well summarized.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. So people, inshallah, until the next one, please leave your thoughts and your questions and any constructive feedback. Inshallah, we look forward to hearing from you and then inshallah sharing more of what we already have to share with you, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.